But I started out one of my interviews by saying, if I can sell Des Moines, Iowa, I can sell St. Petersburg, Florida.
I see. Be careful when you come here to check it out because you're going to fall in love.
I immediately said, hey, let me call the former CEO and ask him,
The minute we let more and more chains come in, the more we lose our character. I want the city to do everything in its power to maintain the local businesses on Central. Hello, you beautiful people. Welcome back to Talkin St. Pete. Before we dive into today's episode, I want to let you know that this podcast is sponsored by Bogden Homes at Keller Williams St. Pete. So if you know anyone who wants to move to the great sunshine city of St. Petersburg or the greater Tampa Bay area, we're here to help. And I got Mike Swesey, the CEO and president of EDC, is right?
St. Pete EDC.
St.
Pete
ED
Economic Development Corporation.
Right. Yeah.
We
gotta break that apart a little bit and figure out what is that, Mike. Right? Because you have some involvement of bringing awesome companies here to the area that influences our great area of Tampa Bay and St. Pete.
Well, that's a great start. Your opening line's a great start. Who wouldn't want to come to St. Petersburg?
Who doesn't want to come?
Who doesn't want to come here?
Well,
Most beautiful city in America.
You moved here from Iowa, so you tell me how's that transition been?
I did. It's been excellent. It's the most welcoming experience that I could have imagined. I was in the same job, same organization, I should say, in Des Moines, Iowa, Greater Des Moines Partnership. It's a regional economic development organization, and so I helped start it in 2000, and we grew it to about 44 employees and 11 counties. So it was a regional county organization. Always had my eye on this part of the Florida. We have family members that have second homes here. So last 25 years, I've been traveling to Clearwater, St. Pete area, watch St. Pete start to grow up in the early mid 2000s and really take off. And so that was just always a goal of mine to get to the St. Pete area.
So did you find it or did it find you when it came to the EDC?
Great question. So my daughter is she's a senior in college. And so I stayed in Des Moines until she graduated high school. And I had a lot of success up there in Des Moines. And so, of course, with success, you get a lot of opportunities, and had a lot of phone calls from other areas and consultants, headhunters wanting me to move. And I always said, I'm in Des Moines until my daughter graduates high school. So there's a certain recruiter that had been calling me over the years, asking me about different opportunities. And I said, no, thank you for calling, type of thing. And then I finally told him, I said, look, if Phoenix, Scottsdale comes open, my daughter goes to college there, I absolutely love St. Pete, Clearwater area. If something comes available, call me. And so he would still call me every once in a while, but so he knew I was interested in the area. And this consultant actually got the assignment to fill this position. And the first call he made was to me. And his name's Alex. And Alex called me and said, did you hear? And I said, of course I heard already. I've had people all over the country calling me and texting me. My phone was blowing up when this job came open, and said, are you going? And basically, are you going? It's yours to lose, basically. And I said, I'm all in. Of course I'm going. So I immediately, when the recruiter called me, I immediately said, hey, let me call the former CEO and ask him, why he's leaving. And
that's a good question.
Yeah, and I said, I
good...
want to know what's going on, because I really didn't know really anybody in St. Pete except for the EDC CEO.
Got it. Oh, so that was a previous relationship.
Yes.
Okay.
So I had, in my role in economic development, when I travel around the country, especially when I'm in an area that I want to be, I try to make the connections and get the, we're a pretty tight-knit community, economic development professionals. We all go to the same conferences. We know the same consultants and all that kind of thing. So you really know a lot of your peers across the country, but I made it a focus to know everybody.
You brought it to reality.
So, yeah.
So before we go any deeper on all that, can you explain at a 30,000-foot view, what is your role and what is the EDC?
So about 8 years ago, we just celebrated our eighth anniversary. the city and the chamber conducted a study of what should we be doing. There's an effort called Grow Smarter in St. Petersburg. We're starting to get some momentum, and so there was an outside group that came in and did a study, analysis of what are our strengths, what are our weaknesses, what are we missing, what are we doing good, what are we not doing. One of the things we weren't doing is we didn't have an economic development corporation, and so as we're competing for business projects, there was nowhere to go, and so there was no phone call to make. So in their infinite wisdom, they put together a new organization, raised money to seed the organization, and from there, the original CEO took it to where he could get it and had an opportunity to move on. And I think I bring a completely different set of skills than he had, both complementary, but I think sometimes the right place at the right time. So he did a great job of getting our organization really well established.
Yeah, off the ground, and then you get it so high,
ground.
then sometimes different skill sets are needed to take it to the next level.
Exactly.
And that's why you're here.
That's why I'm here.
Okay.
Correct.
So within the EDC, so economic development, where's your focus right now in 2025? It's March, new administrations across the country. St. Pete's been blowing up since 2020. It's prior to then, but like really saw a spike in growth.
Correct.
Since then. How long have you been sitting in the seat?
About a year and a half.
A year and a half.
Not quite
Okay,
a
so
year
the last year and a half, you come into this role. Where is your focus?
So our focus is to recruit companies out of state, out of market companies, and to make them aware of St. Petersburg as a location to move your company, not just a location to go to the beaches, which is awesome. I mean, that's part of why we're all here, or to retire. It's a location to move your company and to grow your company. I believe in the past, it wasn't top of mind for CEOs across the country or business influencers, which we call them site selection consultants, as companies come to analyze different parts of the country or of the region. We need to be top of mind, and we weren't top of mind, and we're getting there now. The Tampa Bay region. Since 2000, we've been one of the hottest markets in Florida and in the country. Now we need to make sure that business decision makers, when they think of Tampa Bay, St. Pete is on the map.
I can imagine thinking about moving a company is probably pretty cumbersome. It's a big decision, right? Because you're going to have some staff that don't want to transfer. That's a big thing. So what's the number one reason for companies to move to a new location?
I don't know if there's a number one reason.
Okay, what's a few reasons?
Yes, there you go.
Yeah.
There's multiple reasons, and you nailed the first one actually. If there was a number one, would be workforce. And so, can you recruit a workforce to the area that you're looking at considering, and can you retain the workforce? And if you're moving, can you entice your current workforce to move with you? And so, that's always a big consideration. And when you're in a market like St. Petersburg, there's a lot of benefits of doing business here and of living here. So we've seen a lot of success from the Northeast. So higher cost of doing business locations. Also, obviously, higher cost of taxation when it comes to personal income tax, and we're very favorable in business and personal income tax. So that's one of our main selling points. Access to the market. So we have an amazing airport with TPA. We also have another amazing airport with St. Pete PIE with St. Pete Clearwater. Between the two, we have well over 150 nonstop destinations, which become target markets for us as we look at where should we be advertising and recruiting from. That's an area that we look at. And then just I would say with St. Pete specifically, the vibe of the community, walkability, the access to major city amenities, but you're still in a mid-size city, and we have about 1 million, in Pinellas County, 260,000-ish in the city. However, we're in a metro market of 3.6 million, 3.6 million that's growing at, a nice clip. And we have major sports here. We have arts. We have entertainment. Obviously, we have the water.
I like a mid-sized city, and if I'm not mistaken, I just saw prior to this conversation that we were ranked number 4 in the country in economic growth for a mid-sized city. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. We have received so many rankings lately that it is hard to keep up with them, which is awesome, right? That's what we need. And so the more we're getting noticed, right? And so when you get a big announcement like Foot Locker moving here, when you get a big announcement like that, then you start to get more calls, right? And I've witnessed the same. The same scenario back when I was in Des Moines. You get a couple big announcements, and you start getting a lot of phone calls.
We call those head turners.
Head turners for sure, right?
Right.
Yes.
Head turners, and you can bring some others in.
That's correct. And immediately after that announcement, my network throughout the country, which is God bless you, which is 2,000 to 3,000 business influencers throughout the country that we reach out to now on a regular basis, and we go meet with them at their location. I see them at conferences. In fact, there's a conference in Orlando next week where about 75 of the most active business influencers will be there that advise companies where to go. So then they see Foot Lockers moving to St. Petersburg. What is going on? Raises the awareness. We get the phone calls, the emails, texts.
Your job sounds fun.
It's awesome. It is absolutely
sell
awesome.
the city.
I sell paradise. Think about it. I sell one of the best cities in America, and I'm going to catch flack when I say this from my former friends, my former colleagues and my friends up in Iowa. But I started out one of my interviews by saying, if I can sell Des Moines, Iowa, I can sell St. Petersburg, Florida. And of course, the interview committee all chuckle, and I'm like, no, I'm serious. This place is amazing. It's getting on the map. It's not completely on the map. But I would challenge anybody to find me a city with more opportunity than we have in America.
Mike, we're in the same business, right?
That's right. We sell
sell this paradise, and it's funny you said the Northeast because I'm originally from Pennsylvania, so have helped a lot of Northeast people move here and get settled. And we just were helping someone from California this past weekend who's moving here, and I tell people jokingly, I say, be careful when you come here to check it out because you're going to fall in love.
And you never want to leave.
And you're never going to want to leave, and you're not going to be able to get here fast enough.
Correct.
It is such an amazing place. So when
Can I please? So that's a reoccurring theme that I'm finding as I talk to people, especially new people, new company executives, but just in general, people who have found St. Petersburg and have moved here and just completely fallen in love with this city, this region, the livability, the walkability, everything to do, in the region. And we have a nice roster of companies that we've recruited now who have just bought in. They're all in St. Pete. Dive in. It's easy to get involved. It's easy to get networked. Go ahead.
Well, I'm just thinking when you're meeting with these companies, and I saw online, happy people just perform better.
Correct, right? Yeah, there's no doubt about it, right? If you have a passion for what you're doing, you're going to perform better.
Well, for where you live, if you can manage your stress better because you're getting more natural sunlight, you have more time outside, you're a part of the bazillion communities that are here, right? Whether you're into spinning clay, doing glass blowing, playing volleyball on the beach, yoga, running, fitness. And a lot of it's active, which is good for us, which makes us feel better. So there's such an active community here, which helps you perform better. And so as a business owner, find the lose. It's a win-win.
There's no doubt about it. When you were saying that, it reminds me of two individuals who we recruited here and have fallen in love with the city. One is Kathy Wood and one is Cheryl Penny and Mason Sallet, who are with Dynasty. And both Kathy and Mason would say to me when I first got here, hey, look where we're living. If you're having a bad day or a bad minute, go walk outside, walk by the water for a few minutes, come back, and it'll reset your whole mentality, right? And in fact, Mason with Dynasty, if I need to have a meeting with him, he says, let's go walk, right? And so to just take in the beauty of what we have here, right? And so you're a happy employee, you're more productive. We have a little bit of a laid back lifestyle, but we get things done, right? And, the work week anymore isn't, during the work day. It's at all times. We've got our cell phones and our computers and everything all the time.
Well, that's a good thing or a bad thing. That's up for debate. But
it creates the work-life balance, the necessity that you need. And so in other places, you might not have the same work-life balance we have, where there's all these different amenities and opportunities to get out and enjoy the weather. And
question that just came up for me as I'm hearing you say this, and work-life balance. These companies that you're talking to, how many are pulling back on the work from home initiative that happened during COVID versus now they want people in office, because now you have to bring a company here. Obviously, office space becomes a thing, all that. Or is it, hey, majority of our workforce is home or hybrid? What are you seeing?
There's definitely a trend to get back in the office, 100% trend to get back in the office. What I experienced is the workers had all the power for a while, right? Because we all went home, worked from home, most would say we were as productive as in the office.
There's been some studies that said we were more productive, believe it or not.
More productive, but we were less creative, less collaborative, and it's just not a culture, and it's not what human beings are meant to do. We're not meant to sit in our home by ourselves, right? We're
in little silos.
Yeah, and if you think about the office environment, how many times do you walk down the hall to get a water or something, boom, you bump into somebody, you guys have a 10-minute discussion, and there's some creative thought that comes out of that, right? And so companies are realizing that, and some of the big companies, some of the major brands and names that we know have mandated back in the office, which started the pendulum to swing a little bit. So now we're a little bit more back in the middle, where if an employer says we're coming back to the office 3 days a week, 4 days a week, 5 days a week, whatever it might be, the employee doesn't automatically jump to the conclusion, I'm leaving, I'll go to another company where I don't have to leave my house. So it's a trend that is happening. The challenge now for the commercial brokers is that in the past, a company would say, we're going to have 100 employees. So how many square feet do we need, right? 250 square foot per employee, do the math, boom, that's what you need. Now we've got companies that are saying 2 days a week, 3 days a week. But we're going to have all different amounts of people here depending on the day, and we need space for everybody to get together as well. So it's a challenge as you're looking at space now. Speaking of space, that's been one of the things holding back St. Pete.
Glad you got there. I was going there.
The Halcyon, which is just broke ground the other day on Central, is our first Class A office new construction in probably at least 20 years, probably more.
I was just going to say that we're limited on commercial space.
We're very limited downtown on commercial on office space. And so we've actually had some companies that chose to go somewhere else because we didn't have the space for their 300 people. Mm-hmm. And we do have quite a bit of space in the city, a lot up in Carillon, as the big companies adjust their work week and how often people need to be there, 2-3 days, like we said, they might not need as much space. So we do have space up in the Carillon area. We're really tight in downtown currently, about 7% vacancy rate. And so we cannot wait for these buildings to be built.
Is there any more initiative behind the city that you know of to promote commercial space? Because as a developer right now, since COVID, you're not looking at commercial space. There's more of a risk, right, to build commercial space. Unless there's some initiative behind the city that's incentivizing through tax breaks or whatever else, so that way we can create more opportunity to bring more companies into our downtown.
Or just in the city in general, right?
Yeah. But I can imagine, though, because of a company, I mean, there's something special about downtown St. Pete. Yes, if you work, but if you want to live, work in the same area,
right. So what we're finding is, and it's a term that you probably have heard, but flight to quality. Mm-hmm. And so as companies are working to get the employees to come back to the office, want to be in the office, we're over amenitizing buildings, more amenities than you would even imagine that you would need 5-10 years ago to get your employees to want to be there. But flight to quality is flight to quality cities as well, and flight to quality neighborhoods. So if you look at anything downtown, the reason downtown's full essentially is because it's a workforce recruitment, recruitment and retention issue, where your employees can walk out the door and you're in the middle of 100 restaurants and coffee shops and shopping and all that stuff. So your point is well taken that we need more commercial office space, and it's risky. However, if you look at across the country, and for sure in this region, the highest rent new Class A office buildings are filling up fastest.
That's interesting. I want to look more into that because I know even here for our office where we have the studio, we had an opportunity to where we needed to decide shortly after the hurricanes if we were going to stay here or move. And so I got to tour what was available, and it wasn't a lot. Was not a lot. And so that just brings the question that there is opportunity for it, especially as downtown continues to move west out towards the beaches and become bigger. And I would like to see it. So maybe that's a project I can find.
I think your question was: are we working? Is the city working
correct.
at putting incentives in place, essentially, to promote more commercial office space? And the short answer is yes. We do have some programs that incentivize companies for job creation, but we also have some incentives that have tax benefits on real estate for new buildings. So the short answer is yes. The comprehensive plan to get that done is a little more challenging. Office buildings by themselves are hard to get financed currently in the country because of the risk, right? So we're seeing a lot of mixed use. So Red Apple Group has about 40 or 50,000 square feet in their new residential tower. Feldman Equities is building a residential tower that will have 70, 80,000 square feet of Class A office space. So we're getting there, right? It's as an economic developer, we can't get there fast enough.
Right.
But on the horizon, so companies are looking 2-3 years out, right? If they're making a move, especially if it's a big move. And so if we have the building going up and we have a delivery date, it makes it a lot easier for us to sell the project instead of just a pretty picture on a brochure.
Right. Is there any fear of growing too quickly?
Always.
Because you can see the locals that are here that say St. Pete's not the same as it used to be.
Correct.
Traffic's higher. Can't find parking, which I think is silly. I moved here from Philadelphia, so the fact that
every city, every metro, every core of the metro or of the city, because we're in a big metro, right? Multiple cities. Every single one across the country complains about parking.
Yeah,
everyone.
But I find it hilarious
and
because
it's funny because the locals are just hating it completely, right? Yeah.
Well, because they're used to never
ones.
having to take another lap around the block.
Right.
Where when I lived in Philadelphia, you simply did not drive because you would not find parking. So you Ubered or walked or took the subway or some kind of public transportation. So I still think that downtown is not that dense, but that's because I have a different, I came from the 5th largest city in the country.
Correct.
So my comparison's a little bit different than the local who's lived here their whole life and downtown was sleepy.
Yeah. 100% agree. We are very walkable. We're bikeable. We have the ride share bikes and scooters and things available. And as we grow, I think up west, west on Central and the both First Avenues, North and South, it becomes very important, right, to be able to get to public transportation. So the Sunrunner, doing an excellent job with the Sunrunner, getting people to the beaches and back, and then the bike lanes and the walkability as well. So it's a big deal.
And companies, bringing companies here is one thing because they're already established. So I can see that from a recruitment standpoint. In the economic growth of the companies that started here and are growing, it's space for them.
Correct.
To grow, because what I found now is since COVID, this place has become an incubator of entrepreneur heaven.
Correct.
And I've had, just on this show, I have another conversation with an AI developer who's doing remarkable things. So there is a lot of unique talent here and that has moved here and that is building some really, really cool things. Are there initiatives or any planning in your scope to help those in terms of economic growth standpoint of the businesses that roots began here? Did I answer that?
Yes, I know where you're headed with this.
Yes.
So
Okay, thank you.
Re-ask it. No doubt about it. 85% of your job growth comes from your existing companies. So the headlines are always the new companies that move in. And in the past, I like to say we hit a lot of singles and doubles bringing new companies in. That are bringing maybe 20, 30, 40, maybe less, and then you help them grow, right? And we do the same thing with the existing companies, or the companies decided this is where we'll seed our company and start here. And so we're trying to stay on top of the issues that might be slowing down growth, barriers to growth. And so we're out, weekly talking to our existing employers as well. And then the employers that are newer here within, let's say, 3 to 5 years, and what can we do to help them grow? So now they're our existing customers as well, essentially. Very important. The Economic Development Corporation was put in place, like I said, 8 years ago, to be the marketing arm for the region, for the area, and to raise the awareness so we can get some of those new entities in here and then help them grow. And through that, it's just natural that you're going to help the existing employers as well.
You mentioned at the beginning that you came with a different skill set than the previous CEO of things that you learned in Des Moines, Iowa. What are some of those skills that you needed to harness? Because obviously, Iowa's a little bit of a harder sell, I would think, just from the weather standpoint and geographical location compared to Florida. But what else was important in that skill set that you developed in Iowa that you're bringing here to St. Pete?
Yeah, so I'm a very regional thinking economic developer. I'm very collaborative. I know that it's so important to have great partners. So the city of St. Pete is an amazing partner. Pinellas County is a great partner. We work across the water as well with Tampa Bay EDC, with Tampa Bay Partnership. So it's really it's a package deal, right? So I think that's a skill that there's no parochialism in my system at all. And so if a company is here and we're showing them around and they happen to want to be in Pinellas Park or Largo or somewhere else, it's still a win, right? It's still a win for us. We got them here. They're growing here. Our people that are living here have opportunities for new jobs. I jokingly always say, the company doesn't care what side of whatever street it is, that happens to be the dividing line, right? They care about the region. They care about the workforce. So I think that's there's no parochialism going on here at all. I think we need to grow the awareness as a region. And so we will travel together with other partners that are not in St. Pete to promote the area. I think one of the main selling points for me when I was interviewing for this position, besides the fact that they already could tell that I love St. Pete and I wanted to be here, right? And you're going to be better at something if you really believe in it, is the network of business consultants that I have after 30 years of doing this job, being in this role, and people we can get to. So people that I can call, what they might be corporate real estate executives at a corporation. They might be a national broker, or they just might be just a site selection consultant that has a lot of customers, clients in their database that they're advising where to go. One of my favorite stories is when I first got here, I started getting text messages from a lot of people in my network and asking me, "What are you doing? You going to retire?" And I'm like, "No, you don't know the opportunity we have here in St. Petersburg. You've got to get here." So the first thing I did when I got here, I started inviting people to come and visit, right? And I had a good now friend of mine that I've known for about 30 years out of New York City that's a consultant and advises a lot of companies on where to put a new, either it's not just a relocation, right? It could be just a new location, right? And there's a lot of HQ2s now and things like that. Anyway, so I called him and I said, Tom, you need to get down here. And he said, "All right, I'm coming down." So he comes over and I immediately get him in the car and we drive central all the way to the beaches. And I took him to the top of Bellwether, and I said, "We just drove 8 miles from the city center, basically." And he looked at me and said, "I've done 20 deals in Tampa. I never thought about driving over that bridge. Never even thought about it."
Mistake number
so
one.
It's raising the awareness, right?
Yeah.
And so that's a skill set I think I bring, that I just have the connections throughout the country that we need, and really the world, actually, but mostly North America.
Yeah. What do you think St. Pete's missing?
What is St. Pete missing? I think the region. How about that? The region, we're working on it, but the region needs to do a better job at transportation and getting people around. Obviously, we have the 4 bridges
coming soon.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we have 3 bridges going over to Tampa, and then the Skyway going down to Braden and Sarasota, which is all about workforce, right? Getting people in and out. I think we do a much better job of using a ferry system, just being an outsider coming in, and it's like, hey, we're not using the water for transporting people very well, right? I mean, you go to a Lightning game and back, right?
Yeah, right.
Which I do. But so I think transportation, and that's a growing area like this. To stay on top of transportation is always the biggest challenge, right? So I think there's a component of affordability when it comes to affording a home. However, the companies and the people that we're recruiting are generally coming from high cost of living areas, and so as a lifelong St. Petersburgian, the price looks pretty daunting on price to barrier to entry, if you will, for homes. We're still good. We're still a pretty good bargain when it comes to Florida and from where people are moving.
Yeah. I thought there was a lot of things that came up as you were saying that transportation. Go
Let
ahead.
me cut in one more. The other thing is perception and raising the awareness that we now have. Our fastest growing demographic is the millennials, right? That's your workforce. And so as the median age of St. Pete continues to come down pretty rapidly, that's where the workforce is at. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, that's okay. I mean, I had like 5 thoughts clash into one and just create a big bang in their head, right? So,
that's what happens.
Yeah. I'll just keep it real. I mean, hearing you say all this just gets me so excited, and even to just get to know you more and what we can do, because I just love this city. I've been here since 2021, and there's no looking back. I want to do everything I can to just continue to help it grow in the right way.
Correct.
And and it's funny you bring in businesses here. You know, one of my biggest fears with right now with Red Apple Group and 400 and all these different buildings, and it seems inevitable, but I want the city to do everything in its power to maintain the local businesses on Central.
Correct.
It is crucial, because the minute we and it's already starting to happen, the minute we let more and more chains come in, the more we lose our character. And that is what makes St. Pete, is the fact that while you're here, you're not going to McDonald's, you're not going to any other chain place. I'll have one controversial thing I bring up on this show is I'm upset that Melting Pot is opening on Central.
Well, that wasn't us.
I know it wasn't you, but I say from the standpoint,
to your point, yeah, that's a great point.
Big companies do not belong on Central.
True, I agree.
As storefront. Right, the mom and pop, that local feel. You know what I say? Trick me. You can be backed by a big company, but don't make me don't
trick me.
You know what I mean? Like put another brand in front of it.
Yeah.
White box yourself. Do something.
Yeah.
Make me think it's unique.
Or in a case like Caribou, that's a local person that bought that smaller franchise and whatever. But it's a great point, and I'm glad you brought it up because that's what makes St. Pete St. Pete. When I was going through the interview process, one of the questions was, what are aspirational cities we should look towards? And everybody always says Austin and Nashville and Charlotte and blah, blah, blah. And I said, no, we want to be the best St. Pete we can be, and we want to keep the character of St. Pete. And I promised the mayor in my interview process multiple times, I said, I'm going to work tirelessly to make sure we keep St. Pete the way it is as much as we can, because it's why we love it here. And it's why it's the reason that companies choose to come here, because we have this special character that's hard to find. Like, where else in the country do you find this mix? I mean, there may be a couple, but for the most part, there's not a lot of places that have kept their character. I think one thing we have working in our favor is actually the boundaries of water. I really do, because it makes it, a lot of these big chains, they run the numbers, how many people are driving by their location or whatever, and sprawling areas work better for that.
Yeah. Okay.
And so I think that's going to work in our favor. It does challenge us a little bit in, price of real estate and things like that. And we're probably going to build a little higher in certain areas, maybe not, the tallest buildings ever, but at least have some kind of mid-rise density, and which is going to be important, I think, along Central and both First Avenue South and North, especially when you get close to public transportation, right? And so you can urbanize a little bit more, urbanize some of those areas, keep the neighborhood feel, but yet have more density so that we can get people using public transportation.
Yeah, one thing I'm excited about is, I've been learning more about is our innovation district. How involved are you with the people over there? Yeah,
we're involved. They're partners of ours, and so it's definitely a great selling point for St. Pete. In fact, I have a group out of San Francisco, the Bay Area, the other Bay Area, the second Bay Area, and we're the first Bay Area.
We're the first. The West Coast Bay Area.
We're number one Bay Area, but I have a group that's we're starting to get these national rankings. They're starting to see that the tech boom that's going on here, and specifically they're coming in about 3 weeks, and they want to tour everything around the innovation district and what's our entrepreneurial ecosystem like. Where are these companies getting money? Do they have to go outside to raise money? And historically, it's been San Francisco, Silicon Valley,
right,
Chicago, Boston, New York. I mean, that's where Austin. That's where most of the money was going, right? So everybody had to kind of grow their own. And while we're growing our own, we're also starting to see outside investment coming in. And the transfer of wealth in the country, staggering. 51% is coming to Florida. 51%. That's huge. So I think we will grow our own system as well as recruit venture capital firms, early stage investors that they see what's going on.
Yeah. Well, I think, we have quite a few private equity firms I know across the bridge. I have some friends over there that work. And so, I'm excited for that type of thing to change. And I think just some economic and political things that are happening in some of those other cities, people are looking here now for that. And I think this is a great incubator for collaboration, for companies to come and more money to flow here, especially because there's still opportunity for growth. But back to I've heard, Austin has been a cool city. I go there at least once or twice a year. But some people say Austin's lost its vibe because its growth was crazy,
too fast,
way too fast. I mean, the amount of skyscrapers going up and cranes is just unbelievable. And it's lost. Some Rainy Street got wiped out and is being redeveloped, and that was a piece of its character. So I'm so excited, and I know I always say that we're going to change. Right, so we want to change for the better, but we can't stay stagnant. We don't want to go backwards. I just hope we can do it in the right way. And so I love that that's part of your mission.
It's 100% part of our mission. And if you look at the companies that we've worked with to recruit here, Foot Locker included, Dynasty, Arc, Smart Choice Communications, they love St. Pete, right? And they want to keep the character, and they're here for the right reasons. Well, we can't tell a company not to come here, right? But we can work a little harder on the ones that have really bought into the St. Pete way and vibe and why we all love St. Pete.
Yeah, no, I love it. So what were some challenges that you faced in Iowa that you're not having to face anymore?
Well, certainly the weather.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it snowed. I think there was a major storm last night that closed down, everything, whatever. Being in the middle of the country, being a smaller, mid-size city in the middle of the country, it's essentially the same size as Des Moines is the same size as St. Pete, the city. And then the region is maybe 800,000 or so. Here, we are 260,000. St. Pete, about 1 million, as I said earlier. Pinellas County, 3.6 here. So we're better known already. So we're starting with a leg up. A lot of people travel here, so it's easier to get people to come and visit. When I was up in Des Moines to get somebody to come and visit, they either had to have family in the area, doing business with insurance companies or ag companies as well, or I had to pay them to come. So we had a lot of good events up there, senior tour, pro golf tour. It's a pretty good place to visit if you're in the Midwest and you're going to the Midwest and you have a reason to be in the Midwest. But to get people to come, it was hard. The influencers, that is. And so that's a barrier I don't really have here. People will come and visit and at least see there, but they need to have the awareness that we're here and we're open for business.
Business influencer. What does that look like? How is one a business influencer? What does that mean?
So the reason I use the term business influencer, which isn't, I don't think I made it up, but economic developers don't use it like I do. So when we are marketing to people outside the market, there's a specific group called site selection consultants. That's an easy one, right? That's all they do is they advise companies. They've got a list of clients that they've worked with over the years, and they advise them on where to go. And then they have to believe in the person or the organization they're working with, right? Because they're putting their reputation on the line as they advise XYZ company to move to St. Pete. So they have to trust us, and they have to know that we're going to deliver what we say we're going to deliver. So that's one group. Also, if you look at corporate real estate advisors, essentially across the country. So that's kind of a different group, right? Because they're trying to fill office space at wherever, but they have clients that are, let's say, in Chicago, and a client in Chicago says, "Hey, can you help us find some place in Florida, in St. Pete?" And so we have to infiltrate that network as well. So they influence companies on where to go. Bankers, law firms, anybody who might be influence a company on where to go. So it's mostly site selection consultants.
Okay.
It's also CEOs and people in the C-suite, but then it's all these other entities that might have an influence.
Okay. Yeah. No. Just when you said that, I'm like, okay, who's influencing these
Right.
businesses? So it's a multiple different people from different angles.
Correct.
On that. What are you working on right now, Mike, that you're super excited about?
Well, we have some additional announcements we're working on that would be, it's confidential obviously right now, but we have a nice pipeline of companies that are now aware of the area and want to come and visit. We're getting ready to roll out a new website that will roll out in the next 2 weeks. And our original website was built when the organization started 8 years ago. So we have new brand identity that we rolled out last week, 2 weeks ago at our annual meeting. And so we actually have a brand now. We have a nice brand identity. And then we'll have a new website that we're building in search engine optimization. We're going to start really when you Google Tampa Bay economic development or Tampa Bay business and whatever it might be, we're going to start to bubble to the top quite a bit. So we're super excited to get that website out. We've been working on it for almost a year now.
Wow.
I'm incredibly excited to get a brand out. So in a way, we have a new brand that I'm happy to share with you.
Yeah.
So that's a big deal. Obviously, the new office space and also encouraging additional office space. So those are exciting things we're working on, and then just getting our message out really. Because last year when I got here, about a year and a half ago, but last year was more of a foundational year to kind of build the infrastructure we really need. This year's going to be a little bit of that, and then we'll hit the ground running.
Yeah, now you really get to have some fun.
Now we get to have some fun. And the other thing we're doing is we're growing our investor base so that we have the funds that we need to compete. I mean, we're a small organization. There's 4 people. And we had a tiny budget. Now this past year, I grew the investors by 14 new. We'll be growing by probably at least 10 to 14 additional this year. Now we're getting the funds that we need to compete against Austin, Scottsdale, wherever in America.
I feel like you just get them here and you win.
There's no doubt. You
ever need a real good tour guide, you let me know.
Well, that's part of what we do. We provide concierge service to come, first of all, the C-suite to get them to say yes, and then
where are you putting them up?
We put them up. We have some partners that are investors in the EDC, so those are our preferred locations. But then we also sometimes we just say, hey, we just got to put them on the beach so they can see how close they are. Right? We had a couple of guests in for the Grand Prix last weekend, and one stayed downtown and then one stayed on the beach. We're showing them the best of both worlds, if you will. But generally speaking, they want to be kind of in the heart of everything. To experience it, right? To walk outside when they're not with me and I'm not selling St. Pete, they can just go do their own
Go
thing.
Explore. Yeah. Go walk out the Vinoy, watch that sun come up.
That's correct. Exactly. Yeah.
And the planes start taking off.
That's right.
We got to keep that airport. I know there's some whispers sometimes about people talking about whether Albert Whitten should stay or go. It needs to stay.
The city's putting together, I'm saying we because I'm going to be part of it, but a task force to take a deep dive this year, the rest of this year, and probably early next year. And what do we need to do? What should we do with the airport? Right? It's an economic engine. There are definitely opportunities to make it more of a community asset rather than not that many people use it. Right? So we've got some things in the works, but we have a nice task force that will report back to the city and the mayor here later this year or next year.
Interesting. Yeah, I know it's a very prized piece of land right there.
No doubt about it.
But I think back to the character and culture of St. Pete, we lose a big piece of that if that isn't there anymore.
Yeah.
I truly believe that. I truly, truly believe that.
Yeah, I do think we need to study it. I don't have a snap answer for you. I do think we need to study it, and I will say that airports are economic engines, and there's definitely a lot of value in having an airport.
It's a lot of value. It keeps if let's just say paint there's a universe where that gets shut down and buildings go up, immediate drawback. Just from the view.
Well, for sure, the view,
right? The view perspective, but that's what keeps is our direct access to water is what keeps our area so special.
Correct.
Right. The fact that Vinoy is protected, nothing can go up there. Then you go down to Gulfport, direct access to the water. You go out to the pier, you're looking over there, and there's not buildings right up to water's edge. Yeah, that'd be really. Yeah, we got to keep it. I'll make sure. I'll raise the flag. I'll get the petition signed. So I'm just saying where I stand. You see, I'll let you know.
Yeah. The other thing that that airport provides us is as we get to air mobility, is that's coming, right?
Yes.
But as we get there, it's a perfect spot, right, to become now a community asset where you can land.
Yep.
We're already looking at different places around the region, the landing pads, if you will, that will be outside of the airport. So we'll have TPA, we'll have probably PIE, and we'll have Albert Whitted, as locations to potentially land, essentially Uber for air travel.
Well,
right?
it's coming.
It's coming. It'll be here. And then we're looking at other locations where we would look at landing pads on the beaches, and closer in the middle of the city and things like that.
In your economic development studies, are there any cities right now in the U.S. or outside that you look to for inspiration or ideas?
So we do inspirational trips, if you will, through the Chamber of Commerce and the Downtown Partnership. And so this year we went to Atlanta and toured. I can't think of the name of the area, but toured the stadium project, and then something. I think it's Union Station, and see how those areas grew. Right now, we're not saying we want to do that.
Right.
We want to learn what went right and what.
No, it's just idea brainstorming.
Right, just brainstorming basically. The Downtown Partnership is hosting a trip to New York City and the Bryant Park area, and to learn what's went right well there. Before I got here, the group went to Nashville, I think, a couple of years ago. So we're always looking at ways we can be the best St. Pete, and what has other cities done that we think is cool that we should do, and what should we stay away from.
The couple that I was just working with from California, they were between here and Nashville. He came here. He's like, Nashville is off the table. Quickly.
That is a reoccurring theme.
Yeah,
that really is, because Nashville is always on the list. It seems like, and the more people visit Nashville and then come here next, it's like, it's a no-brainer. No-brainer. It was like, I thought this was going to be a harder decision, but it is not. And so I was pleased to hear that. Many of our success stories have said that when it comes to business relocations. Yeah, I mean, I get the. I never really done Nashville, been through there quickly. But once you're near the water, I just don't understand you'd be landlocked. I don't either. Preaching to the choir here. The other thing about Nashville and other areas, with the sprawling growth, then you get get from one side to the other ends of, just don't do it anymore, right? It takes 2-3 hours to get from, the northwest corner of Nashville to the southeast corner. Good luck, especially if you're hitting it at the wrong time. Yeah, and you talking about just driving. I don't like going across the bridge. Well, I'm a regional guy, so I always got to say that I'm a St. Pete guy, but I'm a regional thinker, and so those are assets that we sell, right? Well, they're great that they're there. Yeah. Right, I had to make a last-minute birthday purchase, so International Mall was the destination, right? And so I made that. But I live and breathe and work downtown, and it's just so convenient. So when I do have to go truck across the bridge, there is something about it. But to your point, St. Pete will draw people to this side. Correct. Right, but less people want to go over in Tampa once they're St. Pete. That's correct. And when I first got here, I heard that all the time. It's like, oh, that's over the bridge. I'm like, I can see it. It's right there, right? There's something about it. There's something about it. And now I'm one of us. I'm like, I haven't left Pinellas County in like 2 weeks. Why would I?
So, Mike, when you're not thinking about the development and economic growth of St. Pete, how are you personally spending your time here?
So I'm a golfer. So I love to play golf. Don't belong to a club. I think there's a wait list at every one of them
There
anyway
is,
now,
yeah.
and super expensive. But I like to play golf. I love to bike. Love to run up and down the trails. But I love to run by the water. And then I love being at the beach. So I'm a beach guy. So I'm over there and I love being on the water. I don't
Do you have a favorite beach?
I don't currently have a boat, but I will at some point. Favorite beach. That's a good question. I do like Sunset Beach. Now there's some challenges over there now with caddies going down. Love Paso Grill. It's really cool to get down there. I'm not gonna say I have a favorite because I just love being over by the beach and getting that feel and having like little beachy bars and restaurants and things like that.
Like
and then it's also fun to see all the tourists there, right? So you see the tourists, and I haven't crossed the line yet where I complain about the tourists, but I'm sure I'll get there. Or the snowbirds.
Yep, you'll feel it next year. But
it's so much fun to go over there and see everybody's happy, everybody's on vacation, right? And I think to myself, I live here. I just drove over to watch the sunset. I'll be back at my house in a half an hour, right? So that is a good feeling.
That is a great feeling.
Yeah, it's a good feeling.
You can't take it for granted. It's quick.
Yeah.
It's easy to do. But my first 2 years, I feel like I spent a lot more time at the beach. And obviously, because of circumstances, this year, not so much.
Yeah.
But need to get out there. But anytime I get out there for a sunset, I'm like, oh, man.
It never gets old.
Never gets old. Especially if you catch a moment where the green flash happens.
Yeah, I haven't yet.
Oh.
I actually like after the sun is set, like for the next 5 to 10 minutes, the colors are just amazing.
It's incredible. It's incredible. Where else can you go and watch the sun rise over water and watch the sunset over water all in the same day?
Yeah, I can't answer that.
Well, me neither. It's because it's here. It's best city in the world.
And if somebody's been here, if somebody's here for the first time, friends wise now, I always go right over and watch sunset with them. If it's going to be a good sunset,
you have to. You have to. And if you can be a morning rise or early riser to catch the sunrise over, there's something it's so peaceful and quiet out there. You're watching that sun come up over the pier. The plane is just taking off for the first time in the morning. I'm a plane guy. I love planes.
I do too. I love airports. I love planes. So I'm not a pilot or anything like that, but to your point, so it was literally my first day on the job, and I went out in the morning, and I live downtown, close to Vinoy, so I was running along the path, down in Vinoy Park, and the sun was coming up. And I'm like, just looking over, thinking how happy I was, and then I see 2 dolphins start playing. It's like, are you kidding me? And so I came to work the first day, and I said, you guys aren't going to believe this.
They're like, that's every day.
Yeah,
every day he catches a dolphin.
And so I remember one of my coworkers said, well, why don't you go over and watch the sun set now tonight? So to your point, that was one of my first pieces of advice. I think I'm going to do that. That's a good call.
All in one day.
Yeah.
Your circadian rhythm is thanking you when you do that.
Yeah, I love it.
So it's your birthday, Mike. We're in St. Pete. Based off of what you know so far since you've been here, where are we going to eat?
Where are we going to eat for dinner? That's such a hard question now to answer, right? In St. Pete, because every week we have a new fantastic
it's tough.
restaurant.
So you can't name a place you haven't been.
Well, there's a lot of places I haven't been. It's hard to get. I mean, I try to stay, a certain weight, whatever. But I'm going to tell you what, though. I just went to Perry's Porch.
I haven't been yet. How is it?
It was amazing.
Yeah,
fantastic. And for a restaurant to be that new and have worked through most of the kinks, I think. I mean, we had a great experience and everything. I don't think you can hardly get in there now because it's packed for whatever. I've been to New Olivia. That was awesome, and Cognac was good. But and then. Juno and Peacock. Juno and Peacock, been there a few times. Fantastic.
Yep, really good.
One of my go-tos is Bella Brava. I just fantastic people, good food. And then I'm a big fan of Fresco's because I like to go sit on the water and look at the boats, right?
Yeah,
and they have good food.
You named a lot of good ones there.
So so when people ask me, where's your favorite restaurant? I can't answer
Well, I go, what do you want? What are you looking for?
Yeah, right.
What's your
if you
vibe?
want a steak, if you want
but that's why I asked it's your birthday.
Right.
It's
your birthday. I'm probably getting a filet on my birthday.
Okay.
And I had the filet at Perry's Porch.
Have you been to Bo and Mo's yet?
I have not.
So I haven't, but one of our staff here just went, and they're like, best steak in town. And I've heard that from multiple people.
Right, I'm going to do it then.
Yeah, and you would drive past it, you would never know because it's not, it's off the beaten path a little bit. To your point, I hope Perry's Porch can keep up. What I found, and this is any restaurant owner listening, what I found is they open up with a big bang, and it's not saying all of them, but there's been a few that have had that great pop. You're like, this is amazing. And then the quality drifts.
Yeah.
I don't know what, if it gets, I don't know what happens, but just come on, maintain that.
You're right. You're right.
Maintain
you
the
come out
standard.
swinging and stay up there. And, one thing about Perry's Porch, the ownership group has had a very good run, and they're known for being
they got their
quality.
systems figured out.
They got a system figured out. I don't know the owners of the other newer places, but that group, I think they'll do good.
Yeah. Have you done a Leo yet?
Yes, did a Leo. That's amazing. I had lunch at Park Shore today. That was fantastic. It's hard to beat Beach Drive, right?
Yeah, it's really hard to beat Beach Drive. Beach Drive is a great spot to hang out. And
I know the minute I leave, I'm going to think of two more I should have said.
Yeah, of course. That's how it happens. There's too many. There's too many. And so it's just, if, those are the ones that are top of mind, and that's okay. So you're active. You're doing all the fun, active things, out golfing, hitting the good spots to eat. If you're, I don't know where else to go. What didn't I ask you that I should have?
Let's see. Good question. So I got a couple pieces of advice when I first moved here from a guy who lives down south a little ways. He said, get an apartment bigger than you think you need because people are going to visit you constantly.
True.
Right?
True.
And then the second thing was put odds on who the first family member who's going to follow you down here. And I thought that was funny as heck. Well, my sister is here right now. She just took a job down here, and she's moving into Marina District at the West Shore here over in Tampa.
Yep.
But so they both happened, which was awesome.
Yep.
But other than that, just taking in essentially I say we're living a vacation lifestyle, right? I mean, we work hard. We work very hard at the EDC, and I know everybody works hard. However, we know the value of living, a balanced life.
Work hard, play hard.
Work hard, play hard.
This is a great place to do it.
But I do have constant visitors here, especially in the winter, especially in March.
Because you almost need to make a time to where you have to be you can't be afraid to say no, right? Because it does become it's like, and then it's a job.
It really
to be a tour guide.
It really is. So people,
which I'm not complaining, right? Right. I'd rather them come visit than me have to go visit them. But
somebody asked me about a month or two ago, "Are you getting homesick?" And I said, "Well, I don't think I can because everybody's coming to me," type of thing, and it's awesome, and I love it. And I do complain about it when I get to the office. I'm like, "Oh my god!" People show up and they're like, "You don't have to entertain us."
Right? They all say that.
That's not true.
They all say that. Then they go, "What should we do today?
Are we going out to dinner tonight?" It's like Tuesday, and we just went out last night. So no, I love it. That's just it.
No, it's a blessing and a curse. It's a blessing.
It's more of a blessing.
Yeah,
there's no doubt about it. I mean,
absolutely.
I saw at one of my friend's house that lives on the beach. She had a sign up that said, "If you're lucky enough to live on the beach, you're lucky." Period. End of story.
Period. End
We're
of
lucky
story.
to be here.
We
We're
are
lucky to be in
beyond.
St.
We're
Petersburg.
very blessed. I'm very, very grateful for this city. I'm grateful for everything that you're doing and the continuous growth that's happening here. This show has been growing great. Because of it, and just because of the cool people that live here, and it being such a melting pot. I've been fortunate because of this show to actually interview a lot of locals, which has been cool to get the backstory and history to how things have come up. But then all outside of this, everyone I know is not from here.
Yeah. So I mentioned we have 4 people that work at the EDC, and 2 are lifelong residents of St. Pete. In fact, one is like 4th or 5th generation.
Wow.
And then 2 of us are outsiders. So
you then a good blend of perspective.
Great blend of perspective. And so as we were coming up with our new brand identity, as we were coming up with our new website, it's like we get the local influence and spin on that, which is awesome because we really need it. I wouldn't know, right?
Right.
And so we get a nice mix of that at the EDC.
I love it. I love it. Well, Mike, I love to hear what you guys are doing over there at the EDC. I'm really, really excited to see what the next years to come have to do. We'll have to stay in touch, do this again, do another update as you can make some announcements on some of those confidential things that you were talking about.
Love to.
This is a great relationship. Great city, great vibe. We're all smiling.
That's right.
And maybe we'll get out on the golf course.
I'd love to do that. And speaking of smiling and everybody happy, one of the consultants that came in for the weekend, when I dropped him off at the airport, he said, this is probably the happiest place I've ever been. Everybody's happy, smiling. And I said, well, why wouldn't you be, right? Come on, look where we're at.
I have Mike, talking about family coming down. My cousin is going to UT from Pennsylvania, came down here, and just because I was here, and I always ask him, I said, Dane, how you doing? He goes, I'm just so happy. I'm just so happy.
Right?
Yes, just to hear it from a teenager, it's just awesome. Yeah. So,
yeah.
Well, Mike, if people, how can they get in touch with the EDC, or if they're interested or need to find out more, where should they go?
www.edc.com. BecomeSt.Pete.com.
Ooh, powerful.
BecomeSt.Pete.com. And that can take on a lot of meanings, right? Become St. Pete as a new company, Become St. Pete as a new resident. So that's our new brand we rolled out is Become St. Pete.
Become St. Pete. We'll have it in the description below.
Thank you.
And Mike, for the dedicated listeners that are still here with us,
Right.
they're going to be able to comment one word below, and you get to come up with that one word. What's the one word they should comment?
Authentic.
Authentic. Oh, that's a good
Authentic.
one. We haven't had that one yet. Comment authentic below. Like, share, subscribe, tell a friend. And if you're not in St. Pete and you're still on the fence thinking about it, get off the fence, make the move, give us a call. We'll help you out, and we'll see you on the next one. Thanks, everyone.